The EPA is controlled by the President of the United States, and the President of the United States is George Bush. And George Bush is interested in rolling back the environmental laws and encouraging more pollution. And many people, I think, know about the Bush administration's moves to roll back the Clean Air Act, to encourage more pollution from power plant smokestacks and so on. What fewer people know about is that they've been doing similar rollbacks of the Clean Water Act to encourage and promote the dumping of untreated sewage.
EPA knows it's a problem across the country, and they're working on addressing the problem. So I don't think it's wonderful to have CSOs, but I don't know that there's a choice.
Hi, Chad Cook here for Current TV. Today I would like to discuss an environmental hazard that is plaguing hundreds of cities across America. It is the way in which we are disposing of our raw sewage. Hundreds of cities across the country are using a sewage drainage plan known as the Combined Sewer Overflow System. This was first implemented in the early to mid 1800s and is still being used by over 800 cities today. The Environmental Protection Agency first identified this as a major health concern as early as 1964. So much of a concern that it created the Clean Water Act. This act identifies the different uses of our water systems, such as drinking, recreation, and fishing, and then determines the water quality levels that need to be maintained for the safe usage of these water systems. The way in which the CSO system works is there is one major pipe in the system that is there to collect all of the street runoff, all of the unsanitary runoff from our businesses, industries, and homes throughout our cities. This one pipe collects all of this and sends it down to the water treatment facility plants. But the problem is, during rainstorms and during the spring when snow melts, this system is overwhelmed by the increase in water, by the increase in sewage. So what happens is the overflow spills out into these spillways along our waterways in America before it has a chance to go to the water treatment plants. So what is happening is raw sewage is spilling into our water systems. Now, they may tell you that it's not that much, but in fact the EPA has done research and found that first that there's over 15,000 of these spill points throughout America. And from these spill points, over 1.7 trillion gallons of raw sewage is dumping into our waterways.
We're required by the Clean Water Act to formulate a total maximum daily load regulation. And it's a calculation to estimate how many pounds per day, typically, of a waste can go into a stream, and a stream still meet all its designated uses. Well, it's kind of at the intersection of science and politics. Many environmental groups would say, I'm just going to make up a name, methyl death should be zero. And other folks will say, well, methyl death isn't that bad, and because we've got this factory here, we got 2,000 people working, and there's no evidence that it's hurting anybody or anything, so we don't think it should be that low. And EPA and DENRIC are frequently between environmental groups on one side and dischargers on the other.
The EPA, in fact, is encouraging people to continue operating these sewer overflows by allowing them to do it. Okay. They should not be allowing permits to be issued under the Clean Water Act. Mm-hmm. And as long as the EPA allows this to happen, it's going to continue to happen. Mm-hmm. So what we have, in effect, is a bureaucracy that's kind of, thumping its chest and saying, aren't we the good guys? But in fact, they're major bad guys in this. They're failing to do their jobs. They're failing to enforce the law.
So log online and see what the water quality rating is in your area. I know in my hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, the EPA rates our water as a Category 5. Now in their system, 1 is okay and 5 is of major concern. We've had a rating of 5 for over 10 years and nothing is being done about it.
Well, the problem is we can't be everywhere all the time. We sample 12 times a year. Well, there's 365 days.
As you can see behind me, this is one of 40 places throughout the city that dumps directly into our water supply. Teenagers and kids play here regularly and are exposed to dangerous levels of toxins. Like this sign vaguely states behind me, this raw sewage can contain disease-causing organisms.
Whenever anyone asks me, is the water safe to go into? My first response is nothing is as safe as a chlorinated pool with a lifeguard. Okay? And then the next step of that is if someone is immune compromised, if they're very young or they're very old, or if they have a cut or something like that, if they're susceptible to infection, I wouldn't recommend that they go maybe even into a chlorinated pool. As far as wading or any of those activities, as long as there wasn't glass on the bottom and I didn't have a cut or something like that.
I'm here again in front of another one of those warning signs, letting everybody know in the park how dangerous it is to come in contact with the water. It's very effective, except it's not. And the way it's worded, it really downplays the danger. I mean, I think this sign should read, "Don't go in the water, you will get sick." So if you're not sure if your community is still using these CSOs, get online, Google it. And if you do find that they are, call your legislators and let them know that you demand a change.